Alright, everybody. Hello, this is Spy and Jack here, and we're going to be talking about Update 32, the new patch that's coming to Elder Scrolls Online here on November 1st for PC, as well as November 16th for consoles. And yeah, so Jack, you have some things outlined for what you wanted to talk about, and we both wanted to really get into some of these new changes. We'll be talking about the Armory system, we'll be talking about some of the Battleground things. But, you know, just in general, going over the patch notes. Probably won't go in too far with the hot fixes, the bug fixes, but this will be the big drops, the things that are coming out soon, and the things that you should probably know about for your gameplay day to day.
Yeah, so, alright, I'm going to go over, like, in general, what this is. So, the Elder Scrolls Online is getting Deadlands and Update 32. So, it's part of the Battle for Oblivion. It's a continuation in the Deadlands. You can explore both familiar and new parts of Oblivion, including some that have never been seen before in an Elder Scrolls game, which is interesting.
Yeah, a lot of what we've been doing has been landlocked to the Elder Scrolls games before it. You know, we have a couple places in, like, you know, Valen Wood and then Somerset, of course, that haven't been in the games before, but realistically, they've all been landlocked to, like, Tamriel itself. I'm happy to see some more exploration outside of it.
So here, for the Deadlands, it says, you may recognize parts of the Deadlands zone known as the Burn if you've previously played the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion or ventured into one of Blackwood's Oblivion portals.
Right, so it's the realm of Mehrunes.
Yeah, so that's where you see all the metal spires and molten rivers and stuff like that. The Burn is Dagon's will made manifest, is how it's described here.
Very interesting because I feel like a lot of times they try to make Oblivion the middle child, where it has a bit of middle child syndrome. I'm happy they're going back and exploring it throughout this entire expansion and the DLCs following it. They really have been doing a lot of content here around the Oblivion itself. The Oblivion portals are awesome. I think those are really cool.
Yeah.
But I'm really happy that we're getting an actual zone within it.
Yeah, so that'll be part of this patch notes thing. So, in addition to the Burn, you're also going to discover a brand new part of the Deadlands previously unexplored in the Elder Scrolls known as the Sever. It's treacherous territory racked by massive churning storms and shredding winds, where the environment itself is a constant state of change and volatility. It's not the Deadlands you've experienced so far in ESO, but it's no less dangerous. Let's see here. It's got Fargrave, a city at the nexus of multiple planes of Oblivion, but outside their control. It's a desert metropolis surrounded by the enormous skeletons of mysterious entities long since dead. Multi-level and sprawling. It's a trading hub governed by a strange magic called the Stricture. Yeah, Stricture.
So that seems like it's dealing with the Masters, which are the soul trap, the beings who own, like, the souls that are trapped.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's what it is, but that seems kind of similar to it, almost in a way. I know the Masters themselves live in a different realm, but it seems to be somewhat of that makes me think that they're kind of hanging that in front of you a bit.
So, this is supposed to be the conclusion, actually, of the Gates of Oblivion. It's got a unique standalone summon story. New release also includes 3 additional Gates of Oblivion quests, unlocked by completing the main storyline in both the Deadlands DLC and Blackwood chapter. Let's see here. Gates of Oblivion quest. You finally conclude the adventure that began with the Flames of Ambition DLC in January and confront Mehrunes Dagon directly. Finally, you have an opportunity to battle the threat within Oblivion itself and bring this year-long saga to its cataclysmic conclusion.
So, you know, we know a lot about Mehrunes Dagon from other games. I don't know how we're going to go about combating him. I know that we beat Molag because, of course, we did in the beginning of the game, which doesn't make sense. But, you know, Elder Scrolls is an MMO first. I wonder how we're supposed to beat him this time. I mean, right now we do still, I think, in some way have the Elysian necklace, which was granted by them. There's a bit of a lore dump on this, but what it is, I think that we could, if we use the Elysian necklace and maybe some of the other like tools of Mankar Cameron, or not, Mankar Cameron's like writings weren't really produced yet, I don't think, but maybe there's a couple lore characters that were around at this time who were there at later on throughout into Oblivion 4, because high elves do live for a very long time, and there's a lot of them that are like deeply rooted in the Mythic Dawn cult that have been around since the first era. So, maybe some important lore characters there could come in, help us kill him, or help him seal him. I mean, Mankar Cameron himself is a devout follower of him, but I don't think he's been outed yet. So, maybe there's something there. Maybe, I don't know. They could really throw a lot of different characters at this from the franchise.
Yeah, they could. I'd say this realizing that I haven't played the entire storyline of every zone or anything, but there's a lot of stuff that you haven't seen. It'd be a good opportunity, I think, to slide some of it in, since they're bringing a particular story essentially.
If you've yet to have journeyed into Blackwood, probably now would be the time to just get on it, because by the time the update will come in, you'll finish the storyline.
Yeah, you can do quests really, you can do a zone in a day easily.
Yeah, if you really buckle down. The storylines in this game they're not huge, but they're big and they're expansive in their own way. They take you through a lot of different locations. Fort Blue Blood was in Blackwood, and I thought that was interesting because Fort Blue Blood is in Oblivion, and they they really do like to hearken to their older games, even though we're in a past timeline.
Right.
And I'm hopeful that they're gonna treat Mehrunes Dagon right, because Mehrunes Dagon is a big threat. He's not just another Daedra. He's not a bigger Daedra. He's
a Daedric prince.
He's a Daedric prince, and he's one of the more vicious, violent ones, and should probably be treated with that cruelty that he demands. His quests in Oblivion and Morrowind and even in Skyrim are all about very, very violent acts. So I would like to see him be a bit more showing with his cards, a bit more violent and ruthless, because he has that within him. Now I know he's also king of deceit and stuff like that as well, which means that he's not gonna show off in any way. But you're in his realm, and if you're in his realm, he has no reason to lie anymore. You're fucked.
Right.
You're basically done for. You're over. Never want to be in a Daedric Prince's realm. Even if you think about it, in Oblivion, you're in his realm, right?
Yeah.
He's aware of it. There's no way he's not, and which means that in some way he kind of allowed you to beat him for reasons that are unclear.
Yeah. So in addition to the Deadlands, we also have update 32, which is got some stuff in it that I when I first read about it, thought it was kind of controversial in with respect to who this game targets as a main target audience or their primary target, which this right here just kind of talks about two things, and that's honestly these are two of the bigger ones. It mentions the Armory system and curated item set drops.
So which one do you want to jump into first?
Well, hold on. Let's go over the patch notes as a general. So it's approximately 3.3 gigabytes in size.
Not too big.
No, not when you look at how big the game actually is.
Right.
So it covers new features, updates, and big changes.
Two very big changes.
Yeah, there's a couple of very big changes here. So it's going to be comprised of the Deadlands DLC, which gives us a new zone.
Which we just went over the Deadlands, which I'm hopeful for.
I think that getting a new zone is it's at least on the back end of it. It's the equivalent of like getting a new class or a new race or something like that. Like,
yeah, it's something
big
big. It's a big deal because new zones means new content, new things to farm, new things to be doing. Not only do you have delves and dungeons within them typically, but you also have things that are very important, like to new characters. Yeah. Like a lot of new characters can go there and get the new sets, the new overland sets, the you know, and there's just a whole lot that you can do in a new zone, because like every zone's unique in its own way.
Right.
Which means that they all offer different types of content. You know, you go to Hammerfell, you expect to run into Dwemer Ruins.
Right. So like, you're talking about overland sets, so you get new item sets, collections, or collectibles, outfit styles, dyes, achievements and titles, motifs, and furnishings. And then there's going to be some base game changes. The Armory system, curated item set drops, item set collection summary, new mythic items, map updates, new homes, combat music options,
which we can go into the map updates. We can go ahead and cover that real quick, which is that you're no longer going to need Sky Shards, the add-on for Sky Shards.
Right.
It'll be bundled in with the game itself. There may be more functionality with the add-on still.
Right.
I mean, the stuff that they've done there is really good. And it depends on how it's implemented by Elder Scrolls themselves.
Yeah, it's so like the add-ons will still retain their functionality for like UI changes or like lore books, because I don't see anything that mentions lore books.
Right. Which is another big thing, because Mage's Guild can be a bit of a burden if you're just reading the books. They're
a huge burden.
They're not in good locations. You'd have to do the main story if you really wanted to actually level up Mage's Guild.
Right.
But that's not the same with Fighter's Guild.
No, it's not. You can actually, so like we made the video about dolmen farming, like you'll be at level 10 before your character's at level 50.
Right, and that's where my sorcerer just got level 50 from doing all that, and he's already level 10 Fighter's Guild as soon as he hit level 50.
Right.
So
there's also a new PvP emote, some tech support for NVIDIA DLSS and DLAA, and event testing for the Undaunted Celebration. So they got some known issues, which is exploration, itemization, and housing. There's some minor fixes and improvements to chapters that exist already, combat and gameplay, some minor fixes to the base game itself. So
I think we're ready to jump into the Armory system.
Yeah.
So real quick, let's go over our thoughts on it really quickly, just before we go into it. The Armory system, just dropping in, is a dual spec, where you can essentially save all of your gear that you have in your character, like on your character. You can save your gear, your talents, your CP levels, all your things, even outfits. Right? I don't know if you can do outfits, but either way.
So here's the description of it. Introducing the Armory system. It's a new system that helps relieve the friction between switching or experimenting with your character's builds. The Armory allows you to save any of your custom character builds, remembering your gear, attributes, abilities, champion points, and even if you are a werewolf or vampire.
Right.
I did not know that.
So I remember they were talking about that, where you can actually now swap between bites.
That adds to the goofiness that I see in this.
Yeah, that's a little bit much in my opinion. I don't think you should be able to swap between werewolf and vampire. That's a personal choice. If you want to swap, you have to become a human first and then go do it.
Alright, so the Armory itself is free for all players. You just get the Armory station from the Crown Store, which is free, and place it in any of your homes.
Which we'll talk more about the Crown Store on it.
Yep. The Armory Assistant. Now this is where stuff starts getting fucking goofy.
How much is he?
So it doesn't say, but Grasharog, if I'm saying that right, I'm probably not, is also available for a separate purchase to access all the functions of the Armories outside of your home. Okay?
Which means that if you want the station, you have to own a home, which is not a big deal. If you own the Sisters Inn, you get it for free, right?
Yeah, and there's a lot of homes that cost nothing, and you get them as part of playing the game. Like
but
I got one in Solitude and one in Vivek City.
right, I have one in Vivek City, I have one in Alakir Desert, and my big one that's in, I can't remember the zone, Ribbonspire.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? I have all those homes, I have a place for it. The issue being, you have to go home to change your thing, which is a good, like, set standard for it. But now they're offering you to pay money to not have to do that standard, which is set upon everyone else who hasn't paid money.
Like here, so note, because this seems like a big note, not really, but like I'm gonna read it anyway.
That's a lot of
You
gameplay
cannot
function.
Save or load builds without interacting with an Armory station or talking to the Armory assistant. Which is, you know what? All right, look. You got a merchant and you got a bank following you around. Do you really need an assistant to let you just swap on the fly? Like, all right. So, like you talked a little bit about.
It's adding functionality that should already be there.
See, I don't see it that way. The functionality is already there.
It is.
You build a different character, and you just swap to that character. Like,
but the issue is that they're adding an extra layer of it. What I'm meaning is they're adding a functionality that's separate from it, where you could do the same thing, but now you have to pay money to do the same thing out in the open. If they're going to add a way to do that, it shouldn't be paid. I think that's the worst way to do it, is the paid way. Because if you're going to allow us to change out in the fly, it shouldn't cost us money. It shouldn't cost us real money.
Yeah, I personally don't agree.
I think it should just be home.
It already exists in a way. And
now
you're just like.
So remember, I disagree with this. So I disagree with that. I think that there is a purpose for this type of thing. I think dual spec is fine. I think the adding of the functionality through payments.
This is going to turn into one character being a fucking sorcerer and a dragon knight, or a sorcerer and a fucking warden, or whatever.
Well, it's not going to do all that. I don't
quote
hope.
Quote me.
I will quote. Look, if they do that
later
stuff, we're going to have a big issue.
You're going to be able to do that shit because people are going to be like crying and whining that they can't have just one character that can do everything because Skyrim existed.
Yeah, look, if they ever try to add something like that, I doubt they will. But if they do, Jack has the quote now. But I think this, if you're a warden, right, like I am, I see the functionality there of having two specs, where you can be a healer for raid night and a DPS on your solo time. I can see that. I see the reason for it. I think it's okay because spending the money to respec every time that you want to do something, and then, hopefully, maybe you accidentally forget where one of your abilities was. You fucking whatever. I don't typically, but it's just one of those things. Like it's a bunch of hassle to go around it.
Play the game enough to get skill points.
Right.
You can do this already.
You can, but it
takes like 5 slots.
It does.
Inventory, and that's it.
It takes a lot though when you think about it in that way, where you can go out and farm all these sky shards, but it also adds in for the low end and the high end player to be able to just do it.
Right. It's more accessible.
It is more accessible. I think it has a very different thing to it. It's an MMO thing. It's a thing that's been in World of Warcraft, Star Wars Galaxies.
What else was in World of Warcraft?
Or not Galaxies.
Cube crawling.
Star Wars: The Old Republic, Final Fantasy has this, and a lot of other games have this where you can swap between things. Now, Final Fantasy goes that route that you're talking about, where you can be a warden and a dragon knight.
What's the point, though, of different characters at this point?
You know what? Multiple of the same class, not much. Not much.
I don't think there's not, because like you pick your race and your class for what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean the thing is though, that's part of it. Is now that think about it, my warden is a red guard, so if I swap,
that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense because I made a stamina warden. I focused around stamina, and now if I swap that character to be a healer, which I've been thinking about a tank specifically actually. So let's go with tank. So if I wanted to be a tank, Magicka tanks are the big thing for warden. And I'm going to be at a bit of a disadvantage, kind of. I mean, stamina's not bad for tanking, but then again, what if you want to be a healer? It's not good for that. And then your racials can conflict with your build that you already had, and there's no way to swap that without paying money. I can see that as a purpose for a second character, maybe a different race for it, but I don't know. They're adding a bit of a friction there, where they're saying they're taking away friction. I see the point. I see the reason that they're doing this. It makes a lot of sense. You know, being able to swap your build on the fly a bit easier, having 2 of them pre-saved instead of having to pay money every time to redo it completely. Like, having them saved at least adds that, so that you already know the build you want for your second build, right? Like, how many times have we, I've probably had 2 or 3 builds that I wanted to make, but I haven't made them because I don't want to take away from my main build. So, this will allow customization, and for me, especially with making build guides, I'll be able to use that second slot to make builds and not have to fuck with what I really play all the time. But that'll also, I don't know. I think it's a good thing. I think it can cause issues because immediately as it comes out, it's already like pay to win on it. You can buy, not only can you buy that guy who follows you around and lets you swallow, or not lets you swallow, lets you cut out that time cost, really. Now you can also have the other part of it is it lets you buy extra slots for your armory. That's a big fucking issue for me. 2 slots is standard. You can have 2 builds, but the issue is you can buy, I don't even know how many. How many does it say?
So, I know I've seen something on it. It doesn't say it right here.
So I know they said it in their talk whenever they were showcasing it, like the devs themselves. They were talking about how you can buy more slots for more builds on each character. And they're per character, if I'm right, which is even more fucked up. Like, look, if I'm going to buy more things for my character,
that's a money grab, yeah.
Yeah, it's a money grab. Why am I buying access to multiple variations of my class? Like, I feel like if you're going to add the functionality, I think it should just be 2 or 3 slots for builds, and then no guy who follows you around, no purchasing more. You have 2 or 3 builds that you can quickly switch between, and then that's it. That's all it needs to be. Dual spec is where it is, and that's it.
So, I'll say, alright. So like you were talking about, the Warden, who is a Red Guard.
Yeah.
Like, DPS is amazing.
Red Guards do have really good DPS.
I don't think. Well, it's not just that by itself, right?
Right. I built my character around being a Red Guard as well.
Yeah, you built. That's kind of my point. So like, hold on. Let me organize my thoughts on this. Okay. So you have a class that's built on a particular race.
Mm-hmm.
Racials are normally, like, not with all of them, because like Imperials and stuff like that are they just lean towards sustainability, right?
Right. There are some races that just variability within them.
Right. It's not, you don't get like a particular resource buff necessarily, or not one that makes a difference. So
you just get an all-rounder.
Yeah. So unless you're that race, then you have picked a race that you then pick a class on, and then you're gonna play a particular, if I can talk right.
I know.
Particular role, right?
Right.
You're gonna tank, you're gonna DPS, or you're gonna heal. One of the two. One of the three. No combination of race and class is gonna be good at all three.
No.
So what you're gonna run into, you're gonna get grouped up with somebody who shouldn't be healing or shouldn't be tanking or they shouldn't be DPSing. And I'm not like coming at this from like best in slot, like shit. I'm coming at this from
like you played a DPS. I've played a DPSer for a long time. I played healers for a long time, but the issue is that I can just like in a fly swap between it, which means that there's gonna be people who just don't take it as seriously.
Right, like there is, so
they're not going to be spec'd for it right, likely.
Because they don't know what they're doing.
Right, and unless they do, I mean, there will be some people that can swap like this and do this, but I think the big issue is that
it's going to be a real small group of people.
It's going to be a lot of people who just do 2 DPSers, 2 healer type. Like, your healer character has 2 specs of healing, one for raid, one for dungeon, or whatever.
Okay, so that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me. 2 DPS builds, because, like, Templars can be Magicka or Stamina, or a combination. Like, I think my personal opinion is that's the only class that honestly benefits from a balance build.
I think Nightblade's a little bit, but that's still kind of finicky, yeah.
Dragon Knights have stuff that's better. Like, you build a Stamina DPS Dragon Knight, and you're going to have certain abilities that are just better in the Magicka form.
Right, I mean, but that's part of the give and take of it, and when you pick your racial, you pick your race, you pick your class, you pick all these things. What do you do when you make a character? You think, what am I going to do on this character? Am I going to tank? Am I going to heal? Am I going to damage? And then you got to think about it like you make the character. When you play him, you get him up to level 50, and then you get gear.
Right.
The thing that's going to become, I think, an issue is that, like, I think people are going to see dual spec as, like, your second spec isn't as important. Like, I remember back in WoW, when I played a Paladin, Paladins could be all 3. And, I mean, hell, I had a good spec for my healer. I had a good spec for my DPS. My tank, I didn't even have a shield most of the time, like in my bags. Why not? Because I just didn't think about it.
Because get a shield and get good.
Yeah, I know, right? But that's the thing about it, is that, like, you know, like, I think that's going to become an issue when people are like, I don't want to have to swap weapons to be a healer. This is my second spec. This ain't my real spec. And I think
I think this is going to muddy the waters on, like, what you're doing. And I don't mean to come at it from, like, an elitist standpoint, because I don't like the toxicity that comes with it. But
it's an overall.
Some of the content that exists in the game more towards the end, right? So, like, in-game content, you're going to need somebody who knows exactly what they're doing. Like, you're not going to run veteran trials with somebody who doesn't know how to heal. You can't.
Right. I mean, the thing I think we're going to really run into with this being an issue is that people won't treat their second spec truly. And because
or they'll spec into something they don't know how to do.
Right. And I mean, that is good for people to learn, but I think we're going to see a lot of people, like, especially DPSers. I mean, I can see for myself, I know how to heal. That's something I know how to do, but I can see a lot of people who just don't know how to heal. They don't care to heal, but what are they going to start doing when their queues take 30 minutes? Right. They're going to make a second spec, which is tank. They're going to make a second spec, which is healer, and they're going to be They're not going to be actually, like, doing it. They're just going to have it so that they can get through the dungeon quickly and get their Telvar stones. Or not Telvar stones, they're transmute crystals.
Right. That's kind of... that's probably, like, the basis for why I disagree with it, because it's like tanking in this, and this is probably true of each, like, respective game, but, like, this particular game, tanking is fundamentally different. You don't have a group time, right? Like, so your point as a tank is not to pull everything, and you're going to have people that do that, and then they die, and then you got to stop what you're doing and pick them up.
Yeah.
Because they're the tank, right?
Yeah, I've run through a lot of dungeons with tanks that just get their ass kicked real quick, and I think the thing is that we're going to probably see a lot more DPSers who are running tank builds. Probably not because they're important to them or that they actually care to be a tank, but because they're just what
you in the dungeon bastard, man.
Well, yeah, and what are they going to wear for it? Like, the gear they're going to wear is going to be just whatever, most likely. I don't think a lot of people have 4 sets for a character. I know I do for most of my characters.
Yeah.
But then again, most of them are the same kind of thing, like healer and then damage, which is the same thing in a way, but you gotta have like one healer set or whatever, swapping things around, like Burning Spellweave. And like Burning Spellweave is good, but Destruction Mastery isn't really that important for a healer. So what would I put on, like Crafty Alfiq maybe, or Prayer Shaw or whatever?
Yeah.
And if I wanted to do that, I could do that, right? I have really good sets that can basically carry that. And there are only like 1 or 2 swaps, right? You could swap around a few things and just get the benefit from it. How many people, though, have 4 sets for each character?
Right.
I don't know. I don't think anyone knows, really. I imagine a lot of people have a good amount of sets, especially in the top end, or even in the low end, you might have some, like, good sets. But the issue is going to come up, where you're going to have the tank, who is normally a healer, or a damage dealer, and he's going to wear just whatever heavy armor that works.
Right. That's, yeah. They're going to throw on heavy armor and be like, hey, I got plate mail on the tank now.
Yeah, being a tank or being a healer is more than just swapping into it. It's a different role. It takes different functionality. I think a lot of people, you know, whenever we saw this in, like, WoW, when I used to play it, I always come back to it because it's my basis. It's, you know, talk what you know about.
Right.
And I saw it all the time where, you know, you'd have your guy, your dungeoneer, your raid group, right? And you'd have one guy be like, hey, I want to go healer. And we'd be like, oh, all right, yeah, sure. Like, you want to be a healer for a little while. We have a healer slot or whatever. Like,
right.
Hey, whenever I remember one of our damage dealers who was a warlock wanted to become a tank. So he swapped over to his Death Knight, and he was tanking for a little while we had another guy who was our tank who was going to quit soon because he had work. He had started traveling for work, so he wasn't going to be able to tank anymore. So he took a DPS role. The issue is that the guy who took the DPS role wasn't really, like, he didn't really care about DPS. And he was good, but he didn't care about DPS, and he was wearing tank gear. So because of that, he just kind of came in, he did the best he could. He didn't keep up with the rest of us paladins, but he was there, and he did good damage. But that's an off thing, where the thing is that whenever our warlock changed over to be a Death Knight, he had a learning curve.
Yeah.
He had a learning curve for hell. Like, he got smacked into the ground. I remember, like, Croesus would just beat his ass for a little bit, but then again, he learned.
Yeah.
That's good that he learned, but there's that walkthrough era, that part where you have to learn shit. And if you're not learning it, if you're
playing the entire game, then you're playing the game in a different way.
Right.
Because how you build a character in a game like this, or any RPG type of game, is going to dictate how you play the game.
Right.
Like, if you build a healer, you're not going to just mow through dungeons by yourself.
Well, no, of course not, and that's why my
tank, like, died in Banished Cells too. Like, he doesn't pump out enough damage, but, like, I can take a lot. There was a fuck ton of Daedroth on the screen before, like, I got dead.
Right, and you were soloing it, but yeah. Don't want to preface it with that so people aren't like, you just died in a Banished Cells. No.
Well, like, all content can kill you because it scales, but can it really? Like, can you kill it faster, or can you, you know, do you have sustainability? What do you have? You have something that makes content like...
This will muddy the waters within your own group.
Yeah.
I can see issues coming in with raiders. You know, the trial raiders, they're gonna have issues.
Yeah.
Off specs have always been an issue back in WoW, where, you know, one of your guys wanted to do an off spec. You'd have one of your buddies be like, I remember when I played Hunter. I was the officer within my other hunters, so I was the hunter officer is what you call it, right? So I was the class officer for that.
Right.
And so I was the guy who talked to all the other hunters, and I remember having to deal with them being like, look, Beastmaster's doing good right now. I want to swap over to Beastmaster. And it's like, all right, but look, you're wearing all marksman gear.
Right.
Right? So let's get you gear first.
Right.
And they'd be like, well, no, I just swap over and I'll get gear as I go. Like, dude, you're wearing crit right now. You're wearing full-on crit. I understand that, but, like, Beastmastery requires different stats, and you don't have that yet.
Right.
And then you'd have one guy who'd be like, I'm going to play survival. And you're like, don't do that. Stop eating paste. But, you know, like, that's what it was that you'd have those guys that were like, don't do that. Like, don't do that to us, because you're going to cause issues. Like, if you're swapping around right now, you need to have shit to back it up. Because we were rating higher end, and that meant an issue where, look, you want to be Beastmaster, I'm okay with that. Have the gear for it.
Right.
Don't walk in with marksman gear.
Right.
Don't walk in with survival gear. If you're walking in with survival gear, we're going to have some issues about the paste eating again. But look, just, like, walk in right. Be right when you're ready.
Right.
Like, be ready and go in with the right amount of shit. I think it'll work out in the end, like this change. But for the first couple months of it, we're gonna have people just trying things that don't work.
And look, from an off meta standpoint, because that's really what is going on here.
Right.
From an off meta standpoint, I think it's good that people want to play around with builds.
Absolutely.
And that's fine. Like I don't see any problem with that. Where I see the problem is where you're talking about, and this is going to open it wide open for everybody to just play around.
Which is fine,
but like,
yeah.
If I can't get through the content,
normal mode is going to be hell for a while.
I think it will be. Yeah, I think it'll be a little bit rough. It'll be more like if you can't already do it by yourself, it's going to affect how you play. Like your gameplay experience. If
you're coming up into the game right now, so we had a bit of a technical difficulty there.
Yeah.
We're gonna go back into it though. So the issue was that I think for like people in the low end, the people who are just now hitting level 50, the people, or maybe not even that, like people who are still leveling up through like the lower CP ranks, or even people who just aren't necessarily good at the game, because there are those people. It's not like that's not a sly against anyone.
Right.
The issue is that those people who play normal mode dungeons or even low tier veterans, they're gonna get their ass beat for a little while they're trying to find a guy to tank, and all they can find is an off spec guy who's wearing like nothing.
Yeah, it's gonna, like, not everybody will see it, I don't think necessarily, but it's gonna change. Like, I know when I'm going through a dungeon, even if you're there, I know I can tell without any combat metrics on, I can tell if the other DPS is carrying their weight or not. I can tell if the healer is carrying their weight or not. Because
we already have people that stand around.
Yeah. Like,
I think this is going to throw a monkey wrench in. But it will iron itself out after people start to learn their spec. I find one issue that might come up for some people where they just don't know what to do with that other spec.
Right. And all right, so like our content, other creators' content is there for that.
It
like,
is.
Here's how to tank. Here's how to heal. Here's how to damage.
Right.
Like,
I mean,
you're fundamentally doing something different.
It'll allow that for sure. I mean, for us as content creators, it'll allow us to actually have a second build to iron out, play around with for a good enough amount of time to actually put out a video about it.
Right.
But that'll also mean good for other players who don't have to mess with their own build to try out another build online.
Right.
That is good. I agree with that. That allows more creativity within the build, diversity. I think we're going to have more issues in game at the short end, and in the long term, it'll iron out. That's why I'm okay with it.
Just this, and they don't fuck with like class and race.
I
and
don't.
Good other stuff
I don't like that you can change bytes. They talked about that for a second,
That's
and
what
I
I'm
don't.
talking about.
That seems like a fundamental thing, because you can't change your race, you can't change your class unless you pay for a token for race change. But I think that's wrong as well. But nonetheless,
Right.
like I don't like microtransactions at all. I just genuinely don't. And while I put up with them in ESO quite too much, I think that they shouldn't be in the game. You pick your race, you pick your class. That's who you are as a character.
Yeah.
And I don't think that should change.
Well, so.
And that's
We've
what
talked about this. So
vampirism is something as well like that.
Yeah,
like if
it
you
is.
want to get cleansed from it and become a werewolf,
There's a process.
there's a process.
Yeah.
Here's the thing though, Elder Scrolls Online will stop for a minute and say, hey, look, if you want to pay $10.50
Yeah.
or $15, was it $15?
Yeah.
You can buy it, a werewolf bite, vampire bite. I don't even know why you'd fucking purchase that. But they have that, like, they're trying to monetize this, like,
Things that exist in the game.
it's what it is. They're monetizing the low-hanging fruit. The people who are like, I don't want to interact with anyone to go get a vampire bite. And it's like, why are those people even, like, a part of the function of the store?
Right.
Like, because I don't understand. Like, if you don't want to interact with people in an MMO, why are you playing one?
Right. They need a fix between Skyrim and Skyrim 2. So, they're playing this.
Yeah, I mean, Skyrim 2 is going to come out soon.
Yeah.
I say that like 3 years. I got probably 3 years. I'd say 4, actually, because we got Starfield that comes out first, and Bethesda's like really, really having a hard time like I don't know. They can't budget time for 2 games. I don't know.
As big, I get it a little bit as big as the games are.
But dude, Starfield is like Todd Howard's like baby. I don't know. He's weird about it.
Yeah.
Like when he talks about it like it's like his biggest creation. And that scares me because everything Todd Howard touched turns to like garbage. Like he put his name on Morrowind and everything he made in Morrowind was bad. Like I love Morrowind. Do the Imperial Cult for a little bit. You're not gonna like it. You're not gonna like it. Yeah. It's bad. And you know why? Because it also cuts in short. Why? And then like look, we're getting off rant a bit here, but the thing is that I don't think Skyrim 2 is gonna be good, and we're gonna call it Skyrim 2 because it's gonna come out and it's gonna be Skyrim 2
until it proves otherwise. That's where I'm at. Yeah. So
99% chance probably. Like it's
yeah. So another big thing that I think is a big thing because
drive stats
playing the game, right? So item set drops are going to be curated for some content, and what that means is drops will now be preferential towards things that have not been unlocked yet in your item set collections.
All right, I gotta say it. That's an issue. What happens if you want a second chest piece of an item set?
It's literally going to be harder to get.
So think about it this way. You know how many? Think of Automaton.
Yeah.
Okay, that might have helped me out there not farming so much, but here's the issue with it. Okay, I have 4 characters that are max level, 4 different classes. There's a good overlap. What if I wanted Netch's Touch from the same dungeon? And the thing is, I already have Netch's Touch, right? So let's say I have my Sorcerer has Netch's Touch, and then obviously I wouldn't run Netch's Touch on another class, but let's say that I had a second Sorcerer that wanted it, or let's say Templar. The Templar wants Netch's Touch for no reason. And I want to give him Netch's Touch, but the thing is, though, my Sorcerer is already wearing it.
Right.
So I need to go out and farm it. Well, the thing is, I never found, let's say, the belt. Okay? But the pieces I need to replace aren't the belt. I need to replace chest piece, legs, hands, and gloves, and a ring.
Yeah.
Okay? That's 5 pieces. I need those 5 pieces, but the belt is locked in place. I don't have another piece for that.
Right.
Like, that has to stay. So I'm going to go out and I'm going to go get Netch's Touch. Well, I'm going to get a belt first, which means that the first drop off of it's going to be nothing for me. And then then we're looking at it, I'm like, oh, well, I don't actually have the Warhammer.
Right.
Why would I need the Warhammer? I never got it.
Right. And this actually, if you think about it, throws a little bit of a wrench in the Armory system.
Yeah, because how many sets can you have now? Like, it's going to preferentially treat it that way. I understand that doesn't mean that you're only going to get the belt and the Warhammer if you don't have it. But it does mean that those are going to come first, most likely.
Right.
Which is going to be an issue. Transmute crystals don't grow on trees.
Right.
All right? And, like, they're a bit more the farm, and I don't really want to have to recraft everything.
No.
Sometimes it's easier for me to just go out and farm the set. And I'd rather have a random chance to drop any piece than pieces that I don't have collected be dropped first, because, well, the issue is, what does that mean? I have to collect it all first and then it's random? Right. That's going to throw a big issue for me, because I don't want to have to do that way. I would rather it just be random. I get the piece I get, and guess what? That also leads to some weird shit, because, like, what if the first piece you get has a shit trait?
Yeah.
Right? Like, you got it first. Now you got a belt. Now you got to wait until, like, this is the first set. The new dungeon comes out. You're doing the first set that comes out of there. You want the medium pieces. Right. All right? You get the first medium piece. It has impenetrable. You're not a PvPer. Okay. Well, that's an issue. Now I have to get the full set before I find a belt.
Right. Before you're likely to get a belt again.
Right.
So
like, because that's going to be a real hard one for me, because I'm going to be like, I want Mundus on that belt, but the only way I can get around it is recrafting it, which costs 50 fucking stones.
Right.
I would be better off just going on anyway, I guess, just farming it out, but now I have to go through a second grind within a grind.
Yeah, that is where this is messed up, is where they're trying to remove friction, they're actually adding more. Because of, like, what you're talking about. Like, the set might be good. on more than one of your characters. Like
Absolutely.
I run Pariah. I've got most of Pariah.
On 2 characters, right?
I run it on two different characters, and they do fundamentally different things. Like in the what they're built for, right?
One's PvP, right?
Yeah,
Dragon
one's
Knights.
PvP, one's PvE. I need the weapons on one and the body pieces for the other. So like it might help with that, but like I don't need just any weapon. I need a certain weapon. I don't need just any, like.
But the thing is, though, like it's preferentially treating it, right? Which means that does that mean that you have a chance to get the weapon that you want higher? Probably not. It probably means that you have, like, out of the pool of items you don't have, you have a chance to pull that quicker. That'll make what it will do. It will help in some way. It'll help a small amount for the people who are like, I have a full set, but I don't have the one piece I need, and so you go and do it, and like you get it. Or like the few pieces that you don't have and you need. That will be good for finishing a set. The issue is that when you start the set, it's going to cause an issue. Mm-hmm. And if you're halfway through a set, it's going to be a grind before you can go back and get the pieces you need with the right traits.
It sounds like it's meant to cut grind out, which is the funny part to me about this, because it actually causes more in doing so.
I could see it being good. I think it can be good, and I think it will become useful for us whenever we are farming, but I think that preferentially doing it is going to cause issues for people who are like, I'm just starting a set. I got the boots.
Right.
All right, that's an issue now. The boots have in pin, and I'm not a PvPer. Like, that's the thing. Like, that's what people's minds are going to think. Like, I have boots. They're in pin. I'm not a PvPer.
Yeah.
This has infused or well fitted. It's like, all right, well, that's not what I wanted on it.
Right.
And the big part about ESO is getting the character and the gear and everything you're wearing just right for how you want it.
Right.
So if you want it to be right, you're going to have to probably re-farm again after getting everything.
Set.
Yeah, you get the whole set. Now you got to go back. Now you can go back and farm it again.
Yeah, because look, here you're already like more likely to get certain things. Like when we run Dark Shade, period.
Yeah.
1 or 2, doesn't matter, veteran or not. When we run Dark Shade, I get the fucking lightning staff every time with Netch's Touch.
Which is strange. I know that you always get. I don't know if that's an inbuilt luck on that, or maybe it's just a whatever. But
I think it is. I think, like, I don't know for sure, but I think it is. I think that drop rates are a thing. Because, like, there's already only certain places you can get, like, jewelry pieces. There's already certain places.
Well, I know that it is a thing for specialty items, for sure.
Yeah.
So specialty items, what are we going to do with that?
I got fucking Grobel's lightning staff. Like,
but hold on now. There's the issue with this, right? Because
I got like 4 of them.
the specialty items do not, like, they don't show up. Well, no, they don't show up in the book. They're not in the sticker book. So the thing is, how are they going to get treated?
Right.
So am I going to run a dungeon 4 or 5 times to get the full set before I can get any of them? Or is it going to drop randomly as it has been? And which is good, because I would rather special items drop randomly.
Yeah.
Like, that seems the only right way to do it. And I'd rather wear a full set of specialty pieces, if I'm honest, because they're kind of cool. But, like, they're not, like, big things. There's nothing different about them,
right,
and that's fine.
They don't do anything different, which is fine, yes.
Which is, I think, probably the best way to do it. Because you can't have specialty pieces being more overpowered because of just a name tag.
Right.
But the thing with it is that
they're not lore pieces either.
Right.
Like,
they're not even always lore pieces. They're just things that are tied to the area, the zone, or whatever, which makes sense. That's all that needs to be. But the thing is, how am I going to get Guile Hammer?
Right.
How am I going to get, all these special pieces like Scamp Lord Signet?
Right.
Where do they come in on that? There's a miscommunication, and ZOS has had this issue where they just don't communicate that part of it. Like, they've been doing this a lot now. I've noticed with the Battlegrounds, we'll get into that in a minute, is that they're just not communicating fully with the community on what they want. Like, what they want to say. Because I don't know where Guile Hammer comes in, and I don't know how I'm going to get another belt that has Mundus.
Well, like, can you do things to get around it? Yes.
is this a necessary change? It's not, because all right. So here's what they did.
It seems like an overcomplication.
It's a complication. It's an unnecessary complication. You already have what I believe to be drop rate, because certain pieces show up more than other pieces already. Like chest pieces show up more than boots in certain sets. Like it just happens.
And certain places drop certain things. So like dolmens
so
and stuff like that.
To certain places to get weapons and jewelry.
If you want to farm a specific overland set, there are places to get specific pieces.
Yes. So you run into that now, currently.
Right.
That's still going to exist from what I could read of this.
Which already makes sense.
So, yeah, that already makes sense. So, like, instead of running dark anchors to get the jewelry, you're going to have to run, because, like, in a zone, you usually have at least 3 overland sets. You normally have a medium, a light, and heavy. Right? So you're gonna get all the shit you don't need. Like you could have just left it random, and I might have got it next time. Right. Now I'm not,
because now you got to go through the list.
Yes.
Yeah.
So now we're gonna take out the fact that you might not get it.
Right.
But you still might not get it. Right?
Yeah.
Because it's gonna now preferentially give you shit you don't have.
What if I wanted 2 of the same set that I'm wearing? That's where the
problem.
That's a real thing though. Like I could see that where like a Nate Oxton is not like Nate Axiom isn't like top tier set or nothing, but it's a good like starter set.
Yeah.
So think about it that way. That set has both magicka and stamina, like features to it.
Yeah.
So think about it like that. If I wanted, now I know that's a crafted set, but let's go on and in the same set, right? Like let's go through with it. If I'm making a similar build, but I want the set to all have in-pen instead of Mundus.
Right.
2 different sets. Right. I mean, an in-pen set is way different than a full Mundus set.
Yeah, it's way different.
Completely different play style, completely different way of playing. You're advocating for the PvP on that one.
Right.
So when you want to get that set, I want to get a full automaton set now with in-pen. I want to get a full set of automaton with Mundus. I already have Mundus with all Mundus, but now I got to go back and get this, right?
Right.
So I go back into the dungeon because I hate Darkshade, hate it. But I'm going to go back in and I'm going to do it all. I'm going to get all the pieces, but the issue is I'm going to get like 6 things I don't need. Yeah. Like automaton doesn't need.
Guaranteed to get things you don't need.
Right, and here's the thing. I don't have any of the automaton lightning, shock, or lightning, frost, or fire stabs. Why? Because it's a powerhouse build for physical and bleed damage. I have no reason to get them. And if I picked them up, I know I don't have them in my book.
Right.
So the thing is now that I know that, when I go back into Darkshade to go get an in-pen set of it, I'm going to have to fucking fight through all that shit and get 3 stabs that literally serve no purpose for that build, for that set build.
Right. It's just I just see it as an unnecessary complication.
Look, I think it's good for one place. It's good for one couple places, arenas. That's where it's good. Think about it that way. You can get all the master stabs quickly.
Yeah.
You can get all the.
You walk into Maelstrom, it's going to help you get the crushing wall.
Yeah. But it serves a very little purpose in most other places.
Yeah, because your sticker book is account wide, right?
Yeah.
Your item collections book is account wide.
Right,
so
and anything you pick up, you could put in your bank and trade between your characters.
Right.
So it's already an account wide system that now we're adding an extra layer of fuck you.
Yeah.
It just doesn't seem to work.
No, it's. I think it's an unnecessary complication that they put in the way of. In your way.
I'm sure you can still. I'm sure as when you get boots, I'm sure you can probably still find boots even whenever the preferential system's in place.
I think so,
but
it leans a certain way.
But yeah, the lean of
it leans a certain way.
The leaning of it's going to be even more, which is going to be towards things you don't have. And the thing is, what purpose does a lightning staff of automaton serve?
Not hardly any.
I don't know a build that would work on. Why would you have a full set of physical damage and bleed damage and wield a lightning staff.
I can see why it exists because every set needs to be a full set, I guess.
It makes sense. I mean,
There may be a place for it. Like, it's possible that somebody has found a place for it.
But
most players are not.
But I don't see a place for it.
I'm not saying there is. I'm saying it's possible.
And I'm not saying that I know everything about the game, right? But I'm forced to now get 3 stabs of a set that literally benefits none of those staffs' abilities, none of that staff play style.
Like, it would have helped me when I was running around in
what about spinners?
Right.
That's the thing.
That's what I was getting ready to say. Like, so the lightning staff, right? Like, this is gonna fuck with way more beyond just getting stuff. Like, it's gonna mess with player market.
What are we gonna do with the battleground merchant? The one that sells you overland sets. I wonder about that. Does that lean now?
Well, like, if it does, I'm getting dark convergence, and I'm gonna fuck people's faces up.
That's the thing. Is that if it's gonna lean, what all leans? Is it just dungeon drops? Is it all drops? Is it all things you get?
It says here, most bosses in the game, along with reward chests from arenas and incursions, will now preferentially drop items that have not yet been unlocked in your item set collection.
So PvP or PvE only, really, is being changed here, which seems to be the bigger issue. I mean, PvP is the only place you can't guarantee drops. Like,
sources will only drop the set items that they can normally drop. The ways to acquire a particular item are unchanged, but it should be much easier to find items you have not yet unlocked.
See, the thing is, though, what about PvP? Like I'm saying that again because PvP only has loot boxes,
right? Or
a chance to get it at the end of a battleground. So what are you gonna do with that?
That would be probably considered a reward chest.
I hope, because that's the one place it really makes sense to me.
Yeah, you're only gonna get a dark convergence bow like 5 times before you say fuck it and give up.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah,
you got
dude.
Like 20 sets that you can get.
Oh my god, I've gotten it's bad. I hate when I get the right set but the wrong piece, like the wrong weapon, just not where it needs to be.
And so the way this is being like portrayed is that it helps that stop. But you now have to get every piece for it to be totally random again.
I get why you'd want to finish out a set.
Yeah, there's achievements and I'm sure.
Well, no, I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about like finishing out a first set's probably more important than getting 4 boots. But for people with multiple characters, I think this is going to become an unnecessary hassle.
It is, yeah.
And I have 4.
Yeah.
So I really don't want to have to farm the same set 4 times and then also have to farm it once to get everything.
Yeah, completely, yes.
So that's an extra farm for me. That's an extra whole day of farm before I can even touch the rest of the things.
Right. Like I know, so we were talking about traits particular, right? Or in particular. So specifically traits. I understand that you don't have control over that when they drop.
You don't.
I understand that transmute is a thing, and the guide, like, there's a way to go about, like, pumping up the numbers.
Through your transmute.
Crystals that you can get daily, right? Like, have a couple of characters that are at least level 15. You can do everything. Now you can queue dungeons, you can queue battlegrounds, so you can do all your stuff that gives the most to you.
Right, and in like an hour, I had a character that's level 15 on a secondary Templar, which I'm not even needing anymore. But you know.
So, and like what I mentioned earlier, I run Pariah, and I run it in 2 different ways on 2 different characters, like weapon and jewelry on one, body, like the armor itself on another. Now, because I do that, like if I find another set, like I'm gonna be forced to get everything before I go back to complete random chance of getting the pieces that I want.
I mean, look, traits aren't always gonna drop what you want them to be.
No,
but if you farm the dungeon over,
daggers.
I might want to farm. Yeah, that's a big one. Oh man,
like,
what about that? Dual wield's gonna be real fucked up by this.
Yeah.
Dual wield and shield. I mean, here's the thing. Like, it's leaning towards shield. What if you already have a shield? Like it's gonna cause more issues, I think, than it'll solve in the early part of it, and then maybe it'll sort itself out. Like all these changes that they're making seem like big burdens right now that may figure themselves out later.
Right, and the burden part of it is not going to go away for new players. That's another thing.
Well,
this entire system won't be worked out. It'll be worked out for the people who have been playing the game. So when a new player comes in, they're going to deal with, I have to get every piece to get another piece. Like, really?
Right.
Like,
Well, you're going to see what's going to happen is any new players are going to have to farm out a full set of just whatever traits are on it and then have to transmute it to fix it.
Right.
And that's going to be a grind for them. And while I already have to do that, I mean, when we were running for Burning Spellweave,
right.
Do you remember me and you teamed up for it, made it easier?
Yeah.
And we got every piece I needed like a couple times except like one. Remember, it was like the chess piece or something that I needed. That will happen.
Go away.
Right. But that was okay because guess what? Because we kept farming it, I had 3 of them that were like Mundus already.
Yeah.
Like that set me up quicker, even though I didn't have the chess piece and I needed it. Once I got it, I no longer had to go fuck with all the other shit.
Right.
Because I did more content. Now I get the grind was longer, and I understand that, but it came out to be more worth it.
Yeah, and here's the funny thing about this conversation. We are for the grind in these games. Like, as long as the grind makes sense, though.
Right, like don't make me grind for nothing, but like have a grind. I like grinds. I like something that I can just throw my face and get reward. Right. But I don't want the reward to be too high, and I don't want the time spent to be too high. Right. Like I want it to be balanced. A balanced grind is the best grind because you want things that you can just run in, and as long as you keep your own momentum, you're good. It should be like a pendulum swing. Yeah. You know, back and forth.
I think so. Like I mentioned, it's going to mess with player markets too, right?
Yeah.
Like certain pieces are expensive. Like if you get on the Guild Trader, like they're expensive. Like Spinner's Lightning Staff.
Hey,
like,
everyone who doesn't have a Spinner's Lightning Staff yet's going to get one.
Yeah, they're all going to get one, and the value is going to change in game between traders, right?
Which is going to cause issues eventually.
It will, yes, because things aren't going to be like you're still going to have the people who are they look at it and they're just like me, for example, right? I can craft Lava Flitsu, right? So or I can provision it. So like I don't want to go and farm Scrib Jelly, so I buy it. Yeah. You know, and not that these are weapons or like items in the collection book, but like when I was getting spinners, I bought the jewelry. I just did because I wasn't getting it, and I farmed forever.
I bought my Briarheart boots.
So like that happens sometimes, right? And when you go and buy it, you're like, all right. You look at the Guild Trader and you're like, man, do I really want to spend 200,000 on this, 200,000 gold, or do I want to just go get it?
Right.
Like one of the two things, right? And now you're guaranteed to get it. So now this thing is, it doesn't present it as a guaranteed thing,
but it's a lean.
Yeah,
and the leaning.
So you're gonna go get it. You're never gonna buy the thing,
which will fuck up the market. Which I like, and I think a lot of these changes are things that like either could be worked out better.
They seem very solo play oriented.
Yeah, which I don't understand. Again, like as an MMO, if you run with a group, you're guaranteed to get the set anyway. Right. Like you just have all your buddies traded up with you.
Yeah, because you're not gonna get like when we were doing dungeons, right? For like Essence Thief for the Dragon Knight. Yep. So when we were running that white gold tower, we got everything in like 2 or 3 runs. Now there's pieces that I still need, but like I've now later on after the fact decided that like right. But when we did it in 2 or 3 runs, I got the full 5-piece set that I needed at the time. Like, yeah. It's not that big a deal, you know, and like I've been in random queues, and at the end of the dungeon, like when the last boss dies and you loot him, somebody is standing in the dungeon and they type in group chat, hey, did anybody get this? Yeah. That's how you fill your sticker book.
That's how you fill your sticker book, by trading with people. Trading and just generally grabbing a group of people to go get the thing. If you want to farm efficiently, you farm with a group.
Right. And now these changes are kind of taking that away. Because like I mentioned with the Armory system, I mentioned you play in a certain way, right? Like, yeah. All right, like you built whatever. Like at this point now it's whatever, right? With these systems, because You don't need.
It's a cloudy
You
water.
can be a tank and a damage dealer.
They really have not made. I think they haven't put out very defined like how these things work. I would like to see the chances. I would like to see the percentage chance lean.
Yeah, and maybe it exists somewhere because like I don't get on PTS, but I just don't like. It might that literature on how the game is going to work may exist somewhere. Most of the time,
I feel like there should be a percentage. I know that like that is 100% the older hardcore game feel to things where I'm like, I want numbers. I want numbers behind what's going on. I want to know the code itself when I'm playing.
Well, these games are built on that kind of play. Like that's what they're built on. Like,
well, I mean,
Dragons was
look,
literally a sheet of numbers in front of you.
I'm not a meta build I'm not a meta build mid maxer, but I know how to mid max.
Right.
And like when I do, shit gets dead. So that's where I come in, where I'm like, I want to, like, when you want to be if you're a hardcore gamer, the real defining thing of a hardcore gamer is set out by John Strife Hayes, which is understanding the systems more than just like what's presented.
Yes.
The visual aspect is not the important part to us. It's the numbers behind it. And I want to know the lean on it. I want to know what percentage chance you have. Which items come first? Does it go in order?
Right.
Does it go in order from the sticker book? Does it go in any order? Is it a grab bag system? What's going on here?
Right.
I want to know more about what's going on because without the information behind it, I don't know if I can really support it.
Right. So, and I know that sounds like those toxic ass people that you end up with in dungeons, like when we were trying to run March sacrifices, like we ended up with some guy that was just like, hey, this is how you do this. Or me and the other group member we played with ended up in, I forget what dungeon now, but like we ended up in a dungeon and there was a mechanic that kept killing me as the tank, and there was a guy in there with us that was like, hey, get a shield and get good. Like, I didn't build around sword and board and I don't need to. I can tank without it. There's a mechanic here and y'all aren't all doing it.
Like, the thing is that I want to know more about these systems, and they don't want to seem to give us the actual numbers on it. And I understand
not what I've seen, yeah.
I understand that a little bit, because, like, but I don't like it. I don't like that I don't know which piece is next on the... like, is it... like, how does it go in what order? And the thing is that if it goes from the sticker book, that means I'm going to get a lightning staff next, and I don't really care for a lightning staff. And then you just got to think about it, like, I got to fill it out.
Right. Like, and here's another, like, before we move off this, here's another way to think about it. If the ring only has 25% chance to drop, and you only have, or it's not 25%, it'd be like 2%.
Right.
Because there's so many items that can drop in this particular location. But, okay, if it's preferential, by how much?
Right. Does that make that ring a 25% drop? If it was let's go standard a little bit. Let's say it's a 10% chance. All right. Does it make it an 80% chance? Does it make it a 50% chance? A 20% chance? Right. I mean, that would be there
may be
a 20% chance would be doubling the chance of pulling it. That would be like, okay. Right? Because you're thinking about it like every item has a 5% chance. So if you double it, you're really more likely to get it. But doubling it doesn't guarantee it. So that means that there's still the farm aspect of it.
Right.
If it's doubling it, then like that's
farming
cool.
For a reason other than you're making us do this.
Right. 5% is more. 5% more is double. But the thing is that it seems like, and this is the way I'm reading the context in which they put the wording, is it's gonna be like that 5% chance goes up to like a 65.
Yeah, because it's preferential, and it may not be that intense. Like
it may,
that's what
like
we know
yeah.
at this point.
We don't know. That's the thing, is I want the numbers behind it. What does it do? Does it double your chance to get it? Does it triple it? Does it make it 100% chance the next time? Because if it makes it 100% chance, I'm gonna have a real issue with that.
Right. I doubt it does that, but like even if it did do that, all right. So like,
Well, you got a sword. So let's say it's weapons. You have a sword, an axe, a mace,
and a dagger. Yeah.
All one-handed.
Yeah.
Right? And then you have a two-handed sword. You have a two-handed battle axe. You have a two-handed like Warhammer type item.
So let's say you have all those items.
You got 7.
You got 7.
3 sets. That's
right.
21 items. Just weapons. Okay.
Yeah. Jeez.
And then you also have 3 jewelry pieces from each set. So now you're up to 30 items. So like it's probably like I think some stuff is probably like a 1% drop chance. Some stuff may be less than that right now.
Well, here's a real part to it. Is that you have 3 pieces left, right? Does it take the other items and lower its chance and then up the chance of the other? Because if it's a grab bag system, that's how it would work. But if it's in a line, like from the sticker book itself, then it would just go, the next item is this.
Right.
Or is it these 3 items now have a 50% chance of dropping?
So
I think we've ranted about it a good amount here. So let's go on.
So an hour and 11 minutes in, because we're wordy, even though they might not be different words. We just want to say it so everybody understands. So before moving off this to the next thing, I do want to talk about NVIDIA DLSS and DLAA support. So I know that...
Geez, that was fast. Say that 5 times quick.
Yeah, no. Because I'll say something I shouldn't have. So deep learning super sampling and deep learning anti-aliasing are going to be supported now. To DLSS 2.2 DLAA. So NVIDIA graphics cards with compatible drivers are going to see the new options available in the video settings menu in the anti-aliasing dropdown. It's as simple as switch it. So given ESO's variety of settings, it is possible to have configurations that result in minimal to no performance gain from DLSS, specifically if you're CPU limited while playing.
More options for your like actual game, like how it operates.
Visuals.
It's good.
So
I remember Total Biscuit. He was a great YouTuber, great man. But he passed away not too long ago. But still, he had a very good thing about where when he would start a review about a video game, he would go into the PC settings for like an hour. Like it was like his videos were so long because of it, and that's very important to PC gamers.
There's a lot of information in there that like people don't just at face value understand.
And you can gain a lot of FPS by just changing a few values. And PC gaming as its own is a very, very important thing to be able to modify the visuals. There's so many people that run on potatoes, and there's people that run on super powered computers that require Niagara Falls to water cool.
So here's the big thing with them. This needs to be, I think, said, like, even though it's here on screen, gains are most likely to be seen while playing at higher resolution, such as 4K, with multi-threaded rendering enabled and GPU-intensive graphics enabled, such as SSGI. So like these are settings for those top end computers, right? Like computers, laptops, whatever you have. Like if you have a good setup, this is where you're going to see the gain from it. Mm-hmm. You're going to see it at high resolution. It's going to look like Witcher 3, right? Like so now we're getting into that. Which is important for a lot of people. I mean, I don't always see visuals as the most important thing, but I like my games to look good. And that's why I play on PC. So and the same. So you should also not expect performance improvements by using NVIDIA DLAA. It was made available purely as a very high quality anti-aliasing option. Like some people care more about frames per second than they do how the game looks, and that's I'm in that class of people. Like I don't. Yeah, I mean, walking around in a jerky environment.
I really do. If I'm struggling to get a game to run, because my hardware isn't like the best. When it comes to it, I would prefer 45 at minimum. I don't want to play anything below that.
Right. Like currently, this would not benefit me.
No.
So I have like a mid-range gaming laptop that's probably lower in the mid-range.
And mine would be mid-range, a little bit higher towards the thing. So we're in the same we're in the same field here, somewhat.
Like currently, so if I turn this stuff on, my 60 frames per second that I basically don't drop below are going to turn into like 30.
Probably lower.
Sometimes, and probably lower than that, yeah.
Yeah, you're probably going to look at a real low drop. I mean, I think that, for the people who have good computers to run this, that's probably a much welcome change. You know,
absolutely.
Anti-aliasing, it's a very, very important thing for really smoothing out the jagged edges.
Right.
And a lot of them make a smeary screen.
Yeah.
So having one that's right for the way you want it to look is very important.
Yeah.
Anti-aliasing really just fixes so many small things that, like in consoles, in the previous generation to the one we're in now, didn't have any real form of anti-aliasing.
No.
So being able to actually...
on actual hardware improvements coming from either a new console or a new, some patch that, because, so like AMD processors don't pull a ton of power, their GPUs don't pull a ton of power, but they're really high-end stuff because they have software that makes it work a certain way, right? And that's been seen with like multiple different types of technology. Like,
their Threadripper is the only exception to that, but that thing's just not meant for. That's
I'm
meant for general consumers.
Saying in general, yeah, I'm saying in general, like in Google, like with their Pixel line, is not the highest end hardware, even though historically with like the Nexus.
Well, it's
line
how it's
phone,
packaged.
It was, but now you have a vanilla experience on a medium tier phone, but it does like real well because of how they laid the software on the hardware.
Well, software is half the battle, G.I. Joe. The thing
Like
is,
really.
I'll say that out of everything that we're seeing here with the changes to graphics being higher end for better computers, I'd say that the only thing is, 4K is here.
Right.
It's not really here fully, but it's here. It's
here
tangible.
Anyway. Yeah.
And that's going to be something that we're all looking forward to. I'm still playing at 1080p.
Well, and it's 1080p. Like, even though it was a high-end thing, a couple years back, it's like it's pretty much standard right now. Like
1080p, I think right now is probably where most people are playing. I would say 1440p has become the new 1080p, where it's starting to shift.
Right.
Anti-aliasing though, in general, like it's very important because you don't notice it when it's on. Right. Like, and that's the thing about it is because, like, playing Fallout 4, if you look up at, like, the telephone poles, right? They have, like, the lines between the telephone poles in game, and if you look up at them without anti-aliasing on, what it is a string that goes down and then up, and it's just disjointed, disconnected, because it's not really, like, it's just a flat model.
Right.
But because of anti-aliasing, it smooths that out to be a straight line.
Right.
And so the telephone pole up there, like, you don't notice it if it's on because it looks right.
Yeah.
But when you don't have it on, there's a chance they're going to look up and be like, that just looks fucking weird.
I see the seams in this game right now. That's how you get to, like,
that's
just
how you
turn
get
all your graphics off and you'll see how well a game is built.
Yeah, look, if you want to know about a game's, like, structural integrity, turn everything to low and see how really it's working off of.
Right.
If you'll notice real quick if the game's running off potato or not.
Yeah. So, alright, moving on to, because I think this needs to be talked about, and probably could be its own video, but it's a change that's happening around the same time as other changes, so I think it's alright to talk about.
Right, so we need to talk about the Battlegrounds.
Yeah, so upcoming changes to Battleground queues is what this is titled on the ESO forum.
So remember, this was taken back in when? September when?
September 14th is when this was originally posted.
And then October 15th, which is currently the day today. We're recording this a little bit before.
Yeah.
But however, this was today that they have updated the patch notes. They've titled it within, so that we know where the change was. They were running an official test. The test was conducted on live servers for some reason. I'm sure many of you have noticed over the last month that all your Battleground queues have put you in deathmatch.
Yeah, and that's so to the point of they don't communicate things well. I can't say necessarily that this wasn't communicated well because I saw it.
It's at the end, at the very end. They just don't. Yeah.
So I saw when I was trying to find this thread, people saying, "Hey, our queues broke?" Or like, not that. That's not any like a good example of what I'm trying to say.
Our queues
there
like
were threads
issues
on here that were like, "What's going on? I'm only getting deathmatch." Like,
yeah.
So that happened after this originally did. So it like wasn't put in enough places for everybody to see it, which is it's kind of hard to do anyway. But so when Battlegrounds first launched, they initially saw some data and feedback showing a preference specifically towards the deathmatch game mode. Which, all right, like without getting too deep into what they've done here, I'm gonna say this:
deathmatch is something.
It is. Cyrodiil exists, Imperial City exists, Battlegrounds exists, right? Like in those things, all fundamentally function a different way.
And right after that, I'm gonna jump the gun just a little bit, where they say that people were treating Chaos Ball and land grab modes as deathmatch, which is, I'm gonna be straight up with you, like Zos, if you're listening, it's straight up like. That's how players play sometimes.
Right, it is. And here's the other thing, like, if you have Chaos Ball specifically, if you have the Chaos Ball, or you know your group mate has the Chaos Ball, you gotta kill everybody else because the Chaos Ball hurts.
Yeah, it's a deathmatch then, but it's not.
It's not deathmatch entirely.
But it's very, very dependent on can you kill or be killed.
Right. It's not that it's getting treated solely. And some people may be doing that. They may just be going in. But like, here's the thing:
you're not gonna
battleground doesn't end
by kills,
right? And it won't ever end if nobody picks up the Chaos Ball. So,
and it won't ever end if they leave the fucking flags.
Right.
Like someone has to be playing.
There is a time limit. I will say that. So there is a time limit on Battlegrounds. But here's the thing: like, you don't get everything you should get out of it if you didn't play the way the game wanted you to play.
Yeah.
So
well, you don't get your merits, your rewards. You don't get the little assists, trophies, and you don't get it if you're just killing shit. No.
So
you get some of them for killing people, but they're not as much as you would if you played the actual game mode.
Right. So the edit for today. Thanks so much for participation, patience, and feedback while we experimented with only having the deathmatch game mode available. It was important for us to run this for a few weeks to ensure we had an accurate representation of overall involvement and interest in Battlegrounds during this time. So, like, it's cool that you think this. It's not cool that you took it away to begin with. Because here's, like, my opinion is this. Cyrodiil's there. That's what that is. That's deathmatch. Like it is, but even in that, it is land grab also because you have to get keeps. You have
Cyrodiil is all three almost because if you think about it, like the Chaos Ball and the Scroll, the Elder Scroll is kind of similar. But the thing about it is, like you can play Cyrodiil in so many different ways and still benefit the war effort.
Yeah. So Cyrodiil exists.
Imperial City,
smaller version of that. Like Imperial City's fucked up.
Imperial City's just deathmatch with mobs.
Yeah, it's deathmatch with other shit besides players that can kill you dead real quick.
Yeah.
Like, and it depends because all right. So here's the thing: Battlegrounds are all CP locked, right? Like, and the only division is: are you 49 or are you 50?
Yep.
So, and that's needed. I think, in my opinion, that's fine. Okay.
I think
because it's CP lock.
Yeah, and now the new change is that they're gonna just roll in a general queue upon with it. So you're gonna have deathmatch only solo, deathmatch only with group, and then you're gonna have random queue with group and random group with solo.
Yeah.
That's gonna be an issue. Here's the thing. Here's why I'm gonna go into why it's an issue. I'm gonna talk about it for just a moment. Deathmatch, when you queue in as deathmatch, you are queuing only deathmatch, which means that if there is 50% of the players playing only deathmatch and 50% of you playing just random,
right?
The issue is that you're spread across 3 different game modes or 4 different game modes, and they're only split across 1. The conflict here in the coding is going to be that there are more games made for deathmatch specifically. So what's going to happen is when a group is formed for Battlegrounds, they are formed by one person overall.
Yes.
They don't show you this, but one person is the leader.
Right.
And one person hosts, not really hosts, but like in a way hosts the game. It's not a hosting, but it's what it is. So when you go into the game and you form your group, you're the leader, and you might not know who is the leader, but one of you is.
Right.
Now, you're going into a deathmatch. Why is all the random queues going to go into deathmatch? Because there are going to be so many people re-queuing deathmatch that there are going to be more parties formed for it, and you as a random solo player will just get thrown into those big fill-out groups. Essentially, there's going to be a situation where all the games that are playing, like half of them are deathmatch, and that leaves the other 3 of them only like a really small chunk of the pie.
Right.
Because everyone who filters through is going to go into one of these fill groups, and they're just going to get thrown into whatever's biggest, whatever is the first one that's there. The code's going to search for the first game it can find, and turns out deathmatch might be the one. And you're going to end up where your random queue is going to become deathmatch 70% of the time.
Right.
But
because you've got a structure that you built that says, hey, you can queue only deathmatch, which is, if that's what you want to do here, fine, okay.
But why can't we solo only Chaos Ball?
Yeah, or Capture the Relic, or
Yeah.
Domination, or Crazy Kings, or whatever.
Yep.
Like,
So what they need to do, there's
by
5
not
modes.
allowing that.
5 modes. So that means that there's going to be 50% of just deathmatch,
yeah.
which is, I mean, I
The
think,
other 50% is going to be small amounts of the other games.
yeah, there's 4 other games going on in a 50% over just one game has the other half. I mean, look, I might do 50% of the damage in the dungeon, but that doesn't make it okay.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's part of it is we're going to have issues here. We're going to have a lot of issues here with this change. And I don't even see the reason for changing it.
No, just go back to what it was before.
Yep, absolutely. There's no reason to filter out like this. If you want to filter out like this, do it right. What you do...
Either separate it entirely, right?
Yeah. Well, what you need to do is have a realistically, there's 2 solutions. And only one of them really fixes the issue. The one that fixes the issue is a rollback system. We go right back to what we were. That fixes all this issue.
Yeah.
Because guess what? The issue was created by ZOS, and now it's being fixed by them. Right. So they're just making an issue to fix. This is not something you should congratulate them over.
No, it's not.
This is them just making an overthought issue, and they're just over-engineering every little piece. Now, deathmatch should have, if we're gonna do the other way, it should be deathmatch has its own queue, solo and group for every one of these. So you got deathmatch, you got capture the relic, you got land grab, and then you have chaos ball.
Right.
So you got 4 different queues, and then you got random queue, and then that's it. Land grab, because chaos or Crazy Kings and Domination can go interchangeably. That's fine because they're the same game mode, just played a slight bit differently.
Right.
Chaos Ball is a completely different game. Capture the Relic's a completely different game. Like, it's Capture the Flag, like it's different.
Right.
And then you just write in, and then you got fucking Team Deathmatch, and then there you go. You got 4 fucking queues, and you got a 5th one for anyone who just does whatever. That's how you segment players, but that's the other only solution. So just stop it. There's no reason for this. Just go back to what we were before. This is a bad change. It's a horrible change for the PvP side of it. Like, people should be able to filter through or not at all.
Yes. That's the thing that I see. Like, all right, so if you're pulling deathmatch out and making it its own thing, now it's not in the random queue at all.
Yeah, they need to just take it out. Look, that's another way, I guess, if you want to think about it. There's your third solution. Take it out of the random pool.
Yeah.
Make deathmatch its own thing.
Because if it's an option, it goes back to the shit we were talking about a second ago, where if half the people are queuing up for deathmatch, that's fine.
Yeah.
Let them do that, but not affect my chances of getting into a non-deathmatch queue.
I like Chaos Ball the most. I like Capture the Relic pretty well too. So both of those game modes, I would rather just play those all day. Mm-hmm. Like, if I could play any game mode all day, it would be those 2, and that would be it. Like, that would be my PvP experience. I don't like team deathmatch because all it is swarms of dudes, swarms of people
that are
wearing
running Dark Convergence.
It's all three of them have Dark Convergence, and one of them runs a set that like boosts everyone, and then they just go bang bang bang, and everyone dies.
Yeah.
And 4 of them are just using the same ability to throw Dark Convergence down, and it's not good. It doesn't work.
No, and it's not even like I'm not even mad at Dark Convergence really. Like
I
think, okay, they fuck with proc sets overall though, right? So
and Cyrodiil, not in Battlegrounds.
Right, you're still doing something to
proc it. You have
doing
to
something to proc it. So you.
It's not a
Dark
chance system.
And now, no, it's not a chance. It's not a chance system at all. You put an AOE down that has a circle. So like you go get Razor Caltrops. Right?
Yeah, I don't think Caltrops procs it, but I know there's a few of them that do.
Caltrop procs it.
Does
I've
it?
seen it happening today, yes.
Oh, wow.
So, like
you just grab whatever that procs it.
Yeah, you just grab something that procs it, and every 10 seconds or 15 seconds, whatever it is,
yeah.
I can't remember off the top of my head, but every that many seconds, you can proc it.
Yeah.
So
you just
like
could.
Now I got a user interface that tells me when Dark Convergence is over.
Yep.
So I can just continually proc it, which is fine if I can proc all proc sets anywhere.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's not fine because it's nerfed in Cyrodiil. So like, what's the point?
Why is
outside of Battlegrounds? There is no point for it.
Dark Convergence in Battlegrounds though causes an issue because here's the thing: some of those small team deathmatch areas, like they're really small.
Yeah.
Like you got like, what is it? It's
getting the lava to get out of it.
Yeah, and and what's the weirdest one? Remember the one we just did? It was a small castle one, and all there is an upstairs and a downstairs. And the thing is, there's like the only way to go up is through going upstairs, which means that if you put something there, you're gonna get like half the team killed, like before they can move out.
Yeah.
Because 3 of you have Dark Convergence procs right there.
Right. It's a problem and it's not. Like
you're either running Dark Convergence or you're not.
Yeah.
Like
and you're dead.
Yeah.
If you're not.
I've been able to kill some Dark Convergence sets, but I tell you, it's a lot harder because they're just Dark Convergence itself is one of those sets that needs a nerf.
Yeah, it's overpowered, and so when I was pulling these pages up, I saw that apparently Dark Convergence has already been nerfed. It didn't get nerfed hard enough to like balance it, right?
So yeah, you said it was already nerfed. We played today.
And everybody on one group had it. Like I swear, if it wasn't everybody, it was 3 out of 4 of them.
It was a majority, and then the other guy was a Templar, I think.
Yeah.
No, the Templar had it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, the Templar had it.
Like, look, I was playing a Templar. Templars are broken. All right, they're broken. Don't let them wear Dark Convergence.
Right.
Like, I think we need to have a class lock on that. I'm kidding. But the thing is that, like, Dark Convergence doesn't work in Battlegrounds. It just murders everything. Or, sorry, it works too well. That's what I'm meaning.
Too well. That's why it doesn't work.
And so we have a set that works too well in small areas, and all it is right now is allowing you to fight people, and that's it.
Here's the thing. So one of the changes in update 32 is a preferential item drop. If it works on the loot box,
then everyone's gonna have Dark Convergence.
Yeah, so it's not gonna matter anymore. It's gonna be a bunch of like, all right, you're standing as the flag. I'm gonna drop Dark Convergence in a spot that'll pull you out of it.
You know what it really is?
And it's gonna kill you. So now you gotta come back.
ZOS is making a second issue now. They're making another issue because now they're gonna have to rebalance the set because they did this preferential looting. If it works on that, then they're gonna have to rebalance it. Yeah. And then guess what? People are gonna have more gear, but they're gonna have gear that's like different, and then it's just all gonna compound into a big issue where people are you're gonna run into a battleground. All right, you're gonna queue random. You're likely gonna get team deathmatch.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna get team deathmatch. You're gonna queue in. All right, you're running your second spec, which isn't your perfect spec because you're treating it like whatever right now. So you got this second spec that you're running, which the gear in it isn't quite figured out yet because the preferential loot system. But you're wearing Dark Convergence, so guess what? The whole battleground is just team deathmatch, Dark Convergence, and then it's over.
Yeah.
And that's
pretty much
like it seems like I don't know, maybe we're doomsayers on this, but it really does seem like they just created a system that will compound only on the PvP players, which is the people that probably need the most help right now.
They need the most balance in the game.
Oh my
out of
god!
anybody.
Like, dude, PvP is just it's become a big issue where you just can't play it. You can't play it unless you're running Dark Convergence. You can't play it unless you're a Nightblade or running Dark Convergence or a Templar. And if you're any other class than that, except maybe a Dragon Knight, you're fucked.
Like, so I can queue in, and I accidentally figured out on a total accident because I did not build the sorcerer to do PvP, but he's like, it turns out he's actually decent at it.
Right.
So I could queue in, and one of two things happen under the deathmatch system, right? One of two things happen. Either I'm wet paper, and I'm built to like take hits, but I'm wet paper because Dark Convergence everywhere I step.
Remember, you have armor cap.
You do have armor cap.
You have armor cap.
Yeah. So
you are at armor cap.
Right. As soon as something hits me, my resistance caps out.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what, like.
So here's the thing.
I'm gonna hit cap.
You are armor cap. How does Dark Convergence feel?
I hate it.
Yeah.
I hate it. But this is so the two situations that you have in PvP with only running.
Jeez, that's chair is squeaky.
It is squeaky. I know. I gotta replace it. It's gonna happen. So you queue in and one team, and that's all they do is PvP all day long. So now you can't play because every time you spawn in, you die, or you spawn in with 12 people that don't intend on playing PvP ever. So now it's truly about skill. Did you spec right? So it's unbalanced gameplay. You don't have like, look,
PvP isn't
not good
balanced inherently.
Okay, I get that. People don't play these games always to play PvP. I get that. So like, if I queue in, my team sucks and everybody else sucks, that's fine. I'm okay with that. But like, those people don't have a chance because I know how to play my character in a PvP setting, because I figured out on accident that he's actually already decent at it. Like, I didn't have to spec into it. Like, so, all right, when I throw Crystal Frag and it hits you for 16k off the proc thing because I was using something else,
yeah,
and it procs, and now I get the free one that does 66% more damage, and you're dead.
Yeah.
Like, when I hit you with Crystal Frag because you're standing in my unstable wall, you're dead.
Yep.
And I will run around murdering a battleground. I've done that. Like, I've queued in and done that.
Yeah,
every person not in my group.
I've had that situation too at the Warden, even where I just slam everyone into the ground to a fine pace. And
the other option though is just as toxic shit. Like, it's just as shit and just as toxic, because the other option is you queue in and all 8 people you're against are PvP elite, which is fine again.
But they're wearing Dark Convergence now.
But they're PvP elite and they're Dark Convergence, like, they've got it. And because why wouldn't you? Like, if you do a certain thing so much, you're gonna have the set. Right?
Dark Convergence itself, I think, in a strange twist of fate, is probably the main thing rebalancing that.
Yeah.
Because think about it, you can have
Blade Carrier's bad too, man.
You can be a guy who just plays the game casually and happen to have gotten the Dark Convergence set.
Yeah.
And guess what? You're not a good PvPer.
You are now.
You are now.
Yeah.
So it's the great equalizer.
Yeah.
The trash players, and I'm going to say it like that because there are people who just suck. All right?
Yeah.
The people who just suck, they're now good.
Yeah.
And the people who were okay or good, like, they're dead. And now the only people who are left is the bad people with Dark Convergence and the good people with Dark Convergence.
That's it, yeah.
And then anyone who is like, I just want to play my build, you're out.
Yeah.
You're out. You're not gonna face a full Dark Convergence team, 2 of them especially.
No.
You're gonna go in, you're gonna be like, I don't really like Dark Convergence. Like, I don't genuinely like it. I think it's too broken. I genuinely don't like it because of the power. I think it's broke and I shouldn't wear it. Like, I feel that way about it.
Yeah.
And I don't want to wear something that's going to override my character.
I promise, like, look, I got the bow. And I'm
never wearing it.
Pieces. But
I'm never going to wear it again. I wore it for one Battleground.
I'll put that motherfucker on and I'll run around with AoE. Like, I'll run around with Razor Caltrops because I know what I'm doing in PvP. Like, now you're screwed.
Yeah. Hey, you remember that Battleground I did with it on?
Mm-hmm.
You remember I was running the Nightblade, and remember I dropped one, and then I used Soul Tether, and oh my god, remember I wiped out that whole team.
Yeah, it's game over.
Yeah,
That
the whole
set
team
is
was
game
wiped
over.
out because I have a thing that stuns you, and I also have Dark Convergence out. It's an area stun and Dark Convergence. You're done for.
Yeah. Like, I just think they started messing with stuff because Dark Convergence is bad, but like Plague Carrier is bad too. It really is.
They need to rebalance these PvP sets. The PvP sets are just really. They're just.
They took a group activity and made it where you need to be by yourself, because Dark Convergence, if the team is grouped up and they drop it on you, the whole team is dead.
Yep.
Plague Carrier is the same way. Like, it doesn't pull you into a circle that somebody laid on the ground, but what it does do is if you're with your group, you're all gonna die most likely, because like
Dark
you're in
Convergence
PvP.
breaks up group play. Like, remember before Dark Convergence? I remember the days before, whenever, two teams would clash at each other.
Yeah.
And it would take like a good minute before the battle was over.
Yeah.
Like, everyone was clashing. The whole thing was all about tactically playing, at least in some regard, where you had to actually do something valuable.
Yeah.
Like, you couldn't just run in and go, I'm going to hurt things. You had to go, I'm going to do that guy right there. I'm going to make him suffer because he's the one healing.
Yeah.
Like, you had to think about it for like half a second. And now it's like, who really cares? Throw a Dark Convergence in the middle, and then guess what? That whole skirmish that was happening, no longer happening.
Right. Like, I built a character, the Dragon Knight, who is not done, and is the reason nobody has seen it yet. But like, because I don't want to go, hey, this is how I built my character, and then somebody see it and be like, I can't play like that. Like, all right, yeah, because he's not done.
He's not done. Not even close.
He's not. But
he's getting ironed out.
He's getting ironed out. But like, all right, so I built, and I understand what's like should be important in PvP over PvE, and what shouldn't be. So I built the character that way, right? Based on like fundamental gameplay that happens in these areas.
Yeah.
Like, everybody's all about crit, so you get the impenetrable and your crit resistance, right? So
there are balancing acts
well
there.
Still, yeah, I can. Like, I can do well, and I don't even have the right gear on him yet. Like,
Well, defense is just as important as offensive. So, but the thing is though that out of all of it, Dark Convergence breaks both.
it does. It breaks everything. Like, a set like that breaks everything.
It does too much damage, and it doesn't care how much you wear armor-wise.
Right.
And it basically is only really useful for mage-type characters, which is it's essentially another Necrotic Orb. It's Necrotic Orb, but for PvP. And I don't like that. I don't like these one things that like everyone has to have.
I think Dark Convergence is and set bonuses like that. They take it a step further. They take something that's really good on a certain class or race or role, and they give it something that it doesn't have already. Because like, every class can get Razor Caltrops. Every race, every class, and it doesn't cost much.
Yeah.
It's in the assault tree. All you have to do is PvP. You'll get it.
And you can even buy it pretty cheap now.
Like, yeah, Dark Convergence, you can. It takes that one skill that everybody has access to and makes it a death bomb.
Yep. And it doesn't matter what you play. You can be a healer. You can be a healer and pop Dark Convergence. And guess what? Because negative damage is healing.
Right.
That means that you're probably in a good position to do a good amount of damage with it.
Yeah.
I mean, like, most healers are stacking spell power.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you stacking spell power? Because that's where your healing comes from. It's damage, but it's negative damage. So guess what? If you have all that shit and you proc it, because it is based off your weapon and spell damage, right?
I don't remember off the top of my head.
It's based off... I know it's based off something like that. And nonetheless, it's based off something that a damage dealer would have. Healers have the same stats in a different way, which means that healers can Dark Convergence kill you all. A healer.
Yes.
Like, no, a healer should be able to defend themselves, but they shouldn't be able to make death balls.
Right. Because it's not the point of what they're doing.
No, they're there to make you survive from death balls.
Right. Which only come from certain places.
Yep.
Right? Like, that's...
Like certain classes.
Yeah.
Like, that's what it should be.
It's...
And, yeah.
we're coming back into the area where it's like we're making stuff accessible to everybody, but like you break shit doing that because this is group play. It's not meant for everybody to be doing the same thing.
Difficult gear should require difficult play.
It should.
And now it's going to make sure that you don't really need to worry about that.
Yes.
So we're going to have people now who don't know their class because they're going to be playing a second spec. I'm going to say that even if you know your class, you might not know the way to play another version of that class. So you're going to have people who don't know their class playing with gear that they got handed out easily in deathmatch and in your dungeons and in your groups, and you're going to have these people who are wearing good gear with a class that they basically have no clue on how to play. And for the first month or two, we're going to have just tons of issues where everyone's trying to work out stupid shit. And then it should be ironed out if Dark Convergence gets fucking thrown away, hopefully. I mean, like, honestly, I don't even know how you'd balance it. Like, I think the only way to balance it would be to take away the group pull-in.
Yeah.
Like,
I do want to say this before getting off, I guess, the subject or whatever. Or before I want to make sure this gets said before all this wraps up. But like, so they wrote in this post in today's update. One thing to keep in mind is the random queue will include all game modes, and they phrased this incorrectly to make it seem like only deathmatch players are going to have a higher chance, right?
Yes.
It says random game modes will include all flag games, land grabs, and deathmatch too. So the likelihood of getting deathmatch is going to be higher for those queuing into that game mode specifically.
Here's the thing.
Not just those people.
The way they phrase it could be taken two ways. It means that as either a clear statement of deathmatch only will make it a higher chance you get into deathmatch, which would make sense, or it's literally saying what we've been saying, that because of this, everyone's going to be playing deathmatch.
Yeah, because it's included in the random games, everybody's going to get stuck playing it. If there really is, and I'm not against it, like as a game option. I'm not against you being able to queue deathmatch. I'm against you being able to fuck with my gameplay.
Yeah.
Because you're queuing into deathmatch.
Well, I want to play the game where I want to play it. And the thing is that we all should be able to play how we want to play.
Right.
No one is saying that you can't play team deathmatch. I'm saying I don't want to play it every time I queue Battleground.
Right. The other part of this is it says we'll continue to monitor the sentiment and participation rates for Battlegrounds once this rolls out next month, and we'll let you know if we plan for any additional changes. Okay. All right. You can't really monitor for sentiment and participation rates if you're doing something you know is going to skew the outcome, right?
Well, here's the thing. They're saying this. What they said before was that they noticed everyone was just playing team deathmatch.
Right.
Well, now what you've done is literally skew the results of the test.
Yeah.
By saying we're all going to play team deathmatch. So what's going to happen is that in a year's time, they're going to come back to it and be like, maybe we should do the test again.
Yeah.
Why should we do the test again? Well, we've noticed that there's an uptick in people playing team deathmatch.
Yeah.
I wonder
but
why.
There's something built in that makes that that way.
And then, why are people going to play other game modes like team deathmatch? Because 90% of their games are team deathmatch. So they just play team deathmatch.
Yeah, because they're stuck playing it. Mostly.
Well, even if you're not playing it, you're playing Capture the Relic. Right. Well, guess what? You just came off 6 games of Team Deathmatch.
Right.
So you're going to play more like Team Deathmatch.
Right.
Fucking of course you are.
Yeah.
So this is literally creating the issue that they were seeking to solve with the original change. They were originally trying to see, what about Team Deathmatch? Why are people playing it? They want to see how many people will just play Team Deathmatch. They want to know how many people specifically will just play Team Deathmatch.
It wasn't enough to just leave it Team Deathmatch only.
Right, so now they've left the results being, well, now there will be.
Yeah.
Now there's no choice. Now if you want to play Capture the Relic, you got to play 6 games of Team Deathmatch. The result of this right here will guarantee the outcome that they saw in the first post.
Yes.
The first thing said
is going to now be guaranteed.
Is now the truth.
Yes.
Because they've rewrote it in a way that it seems like they solved an issue, but they just created one and then compounded it with enough like fake bullshit and dark lines crossed in everything where you can't see what's going on. And now we just don't know enough information to have an actual topic about it.
Right. It's this part right here that messes things up. The likelihood of getting to deathmatch is going to be higher for those queuing into that game mode specifically.
Which is in reference to random
why.
queue.
Your random queue is going to turn into a deathmatch queue because somebody it's cool. All right, I don't not believe that half the game wants to play deathmatch, but I do believe by proxy that the other half of the game doesn't want to play it.
I would say there's about a 30% that leans on both, where they're like, yeah, I can, and yeah, I don't really care. I don't care, and whatever.
It's okay. So if half the people want to play, you've got some number of those that don't care one way or the other.
Right.
If the other half people don't want to play, you've got some number of those that don't care one way or the other.
Right.
But what you've done here is that 50% of the people really would prefer deathmatch.
Then
it's going to turn it into 70 to 80%, somewhere in that realm of players playing deathmatch.
And that's going to become the issue, is that they set up a standard in which they thought the issue was. They thought the issue was that people were just playing deathmatch. They wanted a solution to that issue, so they tried to get more data.
Right.
The way they're setting the rules now is that the data will be collected in favor of team deathmatch, meaning that they're gonna scrap it anyway eventually.
Yeah.
I think that really what I think it is they're trying to run down costs. I don't know that. I don't have a reason to think that. I don't have any evidence that supports it. I just want to say that in my own mind, I think that this is a way for them to cut game modes that run up server cost and then say fuck it.
Yeah, it's entirely possible.
And they're setting a skew that's gonna favor team deathmatch, which was originally the issue, and they got a polarizing thing from it. Like people, they say that, like people were upset.
Yes.
Why were they upset? Because I personally like team deathmatch. I don't like it that much.
Yeah.
I don't like it enough to be only PvP. I think, even I played Call of Duty for a little bit. Never really got into it that much. Think about it this way. 90% of the people who play Call of Duty, they play team deathmatch.
Right.
Or solo deathmatch, right? Like that's 90% of the people.
Right.
But here's the thing about it. How many people play the other games like Heist?
Yeah.
Which was in Black Ops 4, or the people gun game.
Yeah.
Or whatever, like the fun games. Like, oh
Yeah.
man, there aren't a lot of people that queue into those game modes. But those are fun game modes. So when you specifically queue into them, you're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna play gun game, and that's fun. Or like Halo playing capture the flag. Like those were important modes.
Yeah.
Team Deathmatch was like the mode that everyone filtered into just to go shoot things.
Right.
Then you had the games that were actually the ones for the people who wanted to really play tactically.
Yeah.
And I think they just don't want to balance it.
Yeah. They even, this was even seen in PUBG, when I was playing regularly, they took a small map, a small section of the big map, and they were like, all right, or no, hold on. Those were quick battle royale games, but they did add a team deathmatch function in on a tiny map, which is fine, but it was the only thing you could play on the tiny map.
Right.
When
Which
you
is
run into where you're segmenting out what people can play, you need to look at this is that issue of everybody or nobody.
Yeah, because
either we cater to everyone, or we don't, or we just don't cater.
we just play a game.
Yeah,
Which
it's
is
part of the game.
And I would prefer that they just went back to what it was and we just play as it was, because there wasn't any issue.
No.
The game modes, look, I'll be honest with you, sometimes they got boring.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not a big PvPer, but sometimes I just don't really want a PvP. Sometimes I want a PvP, and when I PvP, I'd rather just play PvP and have no other issues, not have to sit around and be like, all right, we're gonna get into team deathmatch, and then we're gonna do another team deathmatch, and then another one, and then we might get a relic.
Right.
it throws a monkey wrench entirely, and we've said that for every single one of them. Is that all these new changes come with exponential downsides, and while at the same time, the only one that doesn't have an upside to it, really, in any way, is the battleground changes.
Yeah.
This is going to skew it. This is going to make it different. The battlegrounds didn't need to change. All they needed to do was add more maps and more variety, and then that was it. Like, and they didn't even have to have more variety, really. Just new maps would have been all right.
Yeah. I think this probably, like, after us talking it out, I think this is probably, like, some of the... Because I saw a headline on something, and I don't know if it was a video or an article or what it was, but that was... I can't remember if I mentioned this early on in the video. I know we've talked about it, but... So, you have a sentiment out there that drove this. The headline was players in a big way talking about not playing anymore.
Yeah.
And like, I don't think it'll drive me out unless they drastically change a lot more. But these in and of themselves, after talking them out,
they're not good changes.
They're not fun. Like, more so than bad, they're not good. Right.
Right.
Not in a big enough way.
The only one I like out of any of these changes, really, out of everything in this patch, there's only two things I care for: a new zone, and the armory system.
Right.
Personally, I understand the armory system's polarizing. I think it's okay. I think it's good. I think it's going to cause issues. I think it's good, though. I think it's a good system, but I think they're also monetizing it, which is bad. So, like, still, the only things that I care about, armory system and a new zone.
Right.
The other changes are just, I don't even know why they're doing it.
Right.
I have no
new item sets in, like the gear sets, they're not even really good.
They're not as good as what we have from, like, even Deadlands Assassin, the one you got like in Bog Raider and shit like that. Like, those sets are better.
Yeah.
Like the sets that came from Blackwood.
Right.
Those are better sets than the Overland and Dungeon stuff sets that we're getting in the next patch.
Yeah.
Like, I understand that not every set needs to be Dark Convergence, and it shouldn't be, but we probably need sets that are, come on, this is a game that goes forward, and I understand that some sets are going to get left behind and replaced and stuff like that, and while I don't like that as much, I want old sets to get buffed up. I also want the game to have a consistent amount of new inventive ideas on their sets that increase the power of the character just a little bit, like just tiny little bit. The new shit should be a little more powerful, and this stuff is just bad.
Yeah, because the content to get it is for sure hard.
Right, so like, you're doing new content, which is going to be more difficult. That means that you should get better gear. That's how it works. And while I I farmed out my automaton set, and I'll probably never replace it because it just does so many raw stat.
Right.
I'll tell you this, Briarheart's starting to look like might be replaced someday, and I might replace it with just any of the new big sets that are coming out within any of the recent DLCs and expansions. But this sets here, these ones, I don't care for.
Yeah.
And the new mythic items that are coming out, we hadn't talked about those, but it's all right. They're pretty good.
Yeah.
But
I think for the most part they're decent. I don't.
Mythic items are their own thing, though. They don't have to fall in line with anything. No. But I think out of everything today, it's kind of just a disappointing patch. With some good system updates. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's really what it is.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think it's time to wrap up here, though.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of stuff coming. I don't know if it's good for the game or if it's not. I know my personal sentiment is that most of it is not good for the game. But I guess we'll see at some point. So that's all I've got for this video.
That's all I got for this video. I'm getting a call right now from my brother. He's texting me and calling me, so I should probably get to answering that. He happened to do it right as... Oh, there he is. My bad. I told him I'm recording, and he said, my bad. All right, sinner. Stop it. Like, that's his name, by the way. If anyone wants to check out his channel, apparently he did his upload.
Oh,
so I'm gonna give a little call out to my brother, not the only sinner, at the end of this video. I'm sure he probably will appreciate if you guys go out there and check it out. He's doing lore books, reading them from the Elder Scrolls franchise.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It is pretty cool. I mean, he's my brother, my actual biological brother, so I need to call him out for it. Even though I know we discussed it before, it's, you know, blood. So, calling him out. Sinner, make sure you get them books done, because he was having a little bit of complications with them.
Yeah.
But I guess he's on it now, which I told him, once you upload your first video, that's really where it starts. And I think he's got it. I think he's got what it takes. He's got a very good reading voice. So go check it out if you want to get some more lore dumps. And stick around for this channel, and don't forget to like and subscribe as well, and hit the bell icon for the notifications whenever we do upload. And this has been Spy and Jack over here talking about video games sometimes. And remember, everybody, Morrowind will eventually come. If you just stick around long enough, you'll hear more about Morrowind and how much we really care about Morrowind. And you guys might have heard in our last video a little bit about snake bits. You don't know nothing, I promise. Nothing ever was going on there. We're never gonna talk about what happened there.
That's probably for the best.
It's probably for the best to leave snake bits out. I'll tell you this, guys. I really appreciate all of you and the support on this channel. By the way, we've really come a long way in this channel, and it's become more of a thing for us as well. Like, you know, we've really grown into our station here, and we're happy to have a bigger audience every day. When we wake up, we see, you know, how many people like subscribe and like the videos and come back every day. And it's, you know, we have our own metrics here, and we can see them, and it's honestly astonishing that you guys actually like care enough about this channel sometimes, because like, we care a lot about this channel, but I was just surprised to find out that there were another 1,100 people who would also really want to watch it. And when we first started this, we didn't know, like, if this would become a thing. But as soon as we started it, started rolling. And we're just really happy you all came along for the ride.
Yeah.
Either way, though, thank you all for watching. This has been us talking about Morrowind, and I'll see y'all later.